Hey, aloha to our candidates, our directors, and our guests. I'm Greg Misakian, president of Kokua Council. We want to welcome everyone to another Kokua Council candidate forum. Kokua Council has hosted a number of these during the 2024 primary election cycle, and this is our second one for the general election cycle, with 7 more scheduled or being currently scheduled or being finalized. Today, we welcome Sheila Walker and Angus McKelvey, who are the candidates competing for the State Senate District 6 seat. Angus McKelvey is the incumbent who currently represents Senate District 6. Sheila Walker, who is competing for this seat a second time, was a candidate in the 2022 primary and general elections. We are looking forward to learning more about the candidates and their positions on the many important issues that impact Senate District 6 and Hawaii. Lila Mower, the former president of Kokua Council and current president emerita, will be the moderator for today. I introduce Lila, who will begin the candidate forum.
Aloha and mahalo for joining us. I'm Lila Mower, serving as today's moderator. Candidates will alternate as to who answers the questions first. So the first question will be answered by Angus, followed by Sheila, and the second question will be answered first by Sheila, followed by Angus, and so on. So this is the first question. Very simple one. Please tell us about yourself, your background, and experiences that qualify you as a senator for your district. So, Angus, you're first. Oh, you're muted.
All right. Let's try this again. Aloha, everybody. Thank you for allowing me to join you here today for a discussion about issues that are affecting our condominium associations and communities. I'm Angus McKelvey. I'm very humbled to be your state senator for District 6 for the past 2 years. Before that, I was state representative for District 10, which includes West Maui, Ma'alaya, and a portion of then North Kihei. I believe that my skills will make me continue to work hard for the people are what I've learned over the years insofar as not only how to move policy and to work with different groups on advocacy and also addressing the concerns, but also knowing the parameters and roles of the different branches of government, also both within the state government as well within the local and federal branches. I believe that these years of experience, plus my understanding of local issues as one who's been born and raised here, gives me a unique perspective to allow me to serve you and your communities on these difficult policy issues and questions, much of which have a legal flair. And to also, though, ensure that our local values which put community first and regular working people first, are the values that drive any policy decision. Mahalo again for having me, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing for condo owners in Hawaii.
Thank you. Sheila, you're next.
Thank you so much. And again, I agree. Thank you so much, Kokua Council, for hosting us today and for letting the neighbors and our friends hear what we stand for and what we're all about. So I'm Sheila Walker, and many of you probably already know me. I live in Maui Meadows on Maui, and I'm involved in my community through Calvary Chapel Church and through other organizations like Reshade Maui, and I contribute to the Lahaina Foundation and the Restoration Foundation and many other organizations like Maui Improvement Federation and the Boy Scouts of America and the Hui Arts Center. So I've been involved in Maui for over 8 years while I've been a resident there. Before that, I was a small business owner in New York City. So I understand the importance of small business and how that's the backbone of our communities. And over the past couple of years, I've been attending all the community meetings and walking neighborhoods this past campaign season and the previous one, talking to neighbors, listening to what their needs are and what their concerns are, and I hear them discussing how crime is higher than ever before in their neighborhoods, and they're concerned about that. They're concerned about the insurance prices going up, not just for their homeowners and renters insurance, but all kinds of medical insurance and other things that are affected by our economy. So I'm listening to their concerns and how anxious they are, and I would love to have a say in how we can alleviate some of their anxiety and help our community overcome some of the obstacles that they're facing. So I'll do this through communicating with the community on a regular basis, monthly newsletters, hosting town hall forums, and being involved in the local communities, having boots on the ground, showing up to all the community meetings, and actually sitting with the people, listening to them, and being involved in their lives, not just from the legislature standpoint. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheila. The next question starts with Sheila. A June 2024 Civil Beat headline read, "Will we recognize Lahaina once it's rebuilt?" Oh, let me post the question. What must be done to ensure that the character of Lahaina is retained for the people of Hawaii and those who want to see it restored to a vibrant community and tourist destination with local charm? So Sheila, you're first.
So I'm committed to helping Lahaina be restored to its original charm and original aloha, not to turn it into some Disneyland. So I'm opposed to the bill that the senator produced, and I opposed that bill, and it was not recognized. It was squashed in committee. I do not want to see high-rise buildings in that area. I think all of the buildings should go back to the original landowners and homeowners. They should be able to rebuild the way they choose on their own lands. I'm opposed to the eminent domain that they're proposing to take over all the properties on the shoreline. Those properties should remain in those generational families. So I will support the people who live there into going back onto their original land that they own and building in the way that they prefer. And Lahaina Town needs to retain its charm, even if we have to build it back similar to a colonial Williamsburg, where every building is reproduced in its original state. Of course, it'll have to be up to fire code and some current standards, but we can make it look exactly like it was if we really want to. That's why I'm involved in the Lahaina Restoration Foundation. I think that's an excellent organization to really lead us forward, not creating a new division or a new committee to lead us forward. The Lahaina Foundation, Restoration Foundation, knows what needs to be done in order to rebuild Lahaina to its original charm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angus, your answer, please.
Okay, thank you so much. And, I think on that we agree. I want to see Lahaina back to the way it was when I was a kid, not just 8 years ago, to the old Lahaina, the Lahaina that had the diversity of culture. But we also need to recognize rebuilding Lahaina comes with it a commitment to our native Hawaiian people, our Kanaka Maoli. This was the first capital, Hawaii, of Lahaina, and the restoration of Moku'ula and a recognition of restoration for our native Hawaiian population is part of recognizing and building all our cultures. Some of the issues, though, is important. From the state side, the rebuild of Lahaina is pivoting to the county, much of which we're discussing how Lahaina will look, how it will play out, will be done at the county level. Where the state plays a role is with the special management area permits, which of course are going to affect families to rebuild and businesses within coastal areas. I'm looking forward to hopefully working with the county and the state Office of Planning and Sustainable Development to create a system whereby those who had SMA permits within this area can receive them again so they can rebuild. It's important our generational people be able to rebuild their homes, but I think we also need to look at the fact that a lot of the people who own that land originally aren't there anymore. And it's owned by people who come from places far away for investment purposes. Moving forward, working with the county, we need to try to create a system whereby we can accelerate and provide financial support for rebuilding along those lines. And we can also go ahead and try to work with our communities to ensure that the community plan and design, which Theo Morrison of Lahaina Restoration Foundation, which is a nonprofit group, not government, is working on to ensure. Hopefully the county will embrace design standards. And just real quickly, my bill was about bringing the discongruence of state and county government together with the control of such with the local community. And while it didn't advance, I think as somebody who's been here, born and raised, and who's seen Lahaina discuss townships and other forms of government, I think it was a worthy conversation worth having. But at the end of the day, rebuilding the Lahaina.
Mahalo, Angus. The next question is,
Actually, I'm gonna, if I could, Lila, it was a little cut off at the end. If Senator McKelvey wants to just finish the last sentence, it was cut off a little bit.
No, last sentence is, I think it's important to know that the rebuild of Lahaina, how it will look like, will be largely determined by the county, but where we play a role is with things like SMA and other state policies. Leave it at that.
thank you very much. All right, Angus, the next question is yours. It comes from Doug.
Okay, I want to thank both of you for doing this. That's great. During the COVID lockdown, a lot of us realized that Hawaii is seriously over-touristed and called for legislation to manage tourism rather than just promoting it. Is limiting and managing tourism a priority for you, or is tourism still the goose that lays the golden egg?
Me first? Oh, okay, Lila. No, as your question points out, we've reached a tipping point. More isn't better. One of the bills I introduced is to look at tourism management from both the state resource side as well as the community side. One of the bills introduced was to do a carrying capacity study for McKenna State Beach Park. So much of our parks and other public places are overloaded with tourists to where the parks themselves suffer and locals themselves can't enjoy it. I want to basically expand the reservation system that's been used in Wainapa and Heia, where we can engage a local nonprofit to help carry out the management activities. And finally, there was a bill I introduced last year on regenerative tourism I'd like to bring back this year. While it didn't advance, we did get money in the budget for the Tourism Authority to do regenerative tourism. But regenerative tourism is where we focus on the quality of the visitors, not on the quantity. And we try to ensure that when they come with a sense of respect and aloha and learn and be stewards to this place. The Palau model, although it is an independent country, the Palau model is a model I think bodes well insofar as visitor management goes, and trying to create a system where visitors understand that they're stewards, try to expose them to local businesses and local places, have them learn about our culture and customs. And when they leave, they understand as a guest in our hale that they understood and received so much more. And when they come back, they'll appreciate what we are fighting for and preserving. So tourism is still the largest economic driver, but we need quality over quantity. And then finally, we also need to look at other, what they call niche tourism ideas, besides ecotourism, medical tourism, and others are perhaps for us to explore. But my focus is we need quality over quantity, and we need to embrace what others have done to ensure that our visitors understand they're guests in our hale, and they leave with a sense of aloha and purpose to why this place is so special to us. Aloha, thank you.
Thank you, Angus. Sheila, your response, please.
Thank you. And the senator is not incorrect. I mean, we absolutely need tourism, but I don't understand how we can qualify the quality over quantity. I mean, we can't just give people a questionnaire before they make their flight reservations. So the diversification of the tourism would be how I would approach this problem. So instead of limiting the numbers of people coming in, we could defer them and diversify the tourism. And so if we were promoting the medical tourism, for instance, if we had more plastic surgery facilities, people would be coming as a tourist to have their plastic surgery done, but they're recuperating in a hotel room of sorts at the medical facility, and they would not be taking up our natural resources. They wouldn't be spending time at the beach in the sunshine. They wouldn't be driving the road to Hana because they're recovering from some sort of medical procedure. And not only would that supply a service to people, the tourists who are coming in under those circumstances, it would also provide us with more qualified doctors for our own population. And then there's also the possibility of permaculture retreats. And we could create a Maui model where other cultures, other countries, all kinds of groups could come here and study permaculture techniques and learn. So they would stay within areas to learn the permaculture types of building or planting, farming, and again, not be taking up the traditional resources that the snorkel boats use and the hotel, the beaches, so they would not occupy the areas where we get the heavy tourism that we're trying to reduce, and instead of saying that it's we want the higher quality people and less quantity, maybe we just need to move it into a different type of tourist. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is short, but I think it deserves a long answer. All right, Sheila, we're going to start with you. And the question is, what are your plans to address job insecurity in Maui?
So the job insecurity is coming from our lack of small businesses. If we had more small businesses, small families would be able to support themselves. So it's not about helping the corporations. That doesn't do anything for us to support the corporations and then everybody works for minimum wage. We need to support our small business through low interest loans, no interest loans. We need to give the small businessman the opportunity to operate. If more people were thriving in their small business, our whole community would thrive. And it's the small business is the backbone of our community, the backbone of every society. So the corporations just stomp out the small businessman. So we need to do more things to support those small business people there so that their families can thrive and they hire other families so a small business can support several families. And that's the way we build our community and rebuild our whole culture here. And the small businessman, whether you're a barber or if you own a small restaurant, those people need the support. And during the pandemic, those types of businesses were run out of business here. So many of them didn't survive. So we need to bring those people back, cultivate them, support them through organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, obviously, and Rotary helps small business, but we can also create incentives for them and give them better interest loans and provide spaces for them to hold their businesses and cut some of the extreme permitting that restricts them from operating a business here. So I'm in full support of our small business to help recover our economy and to help put people into better paying jobs.
Thank you, Sheila. Your answer, Angus?
Well, thank you. Job insecurity, and I like the question because it spoke just because while it does touch upon diversification, about job security. How do people keep the jobs they have, right? It's only interesting. This question is great because there was just a report released showing that Maui is suffering from a huge labor market shortage, especially in construction and building industries that are needed. What we need to do is get housing for workers. If workers have housing they can afford, then that creates a huge level of stability for them. Some of the things we need to do, which we've built upon, are increase the rent subsidy programs. We need to build upon the largest tax rebate that we've ever given in history towards the middle class. Many small businesses file in those brackets. Even though they're small business, they file in the individual brackets that are going to be getting this money. That's money to be put in there. We also need to look at the fact that many of these small businesses and others need help with mortgage relief. And they also need some kind of ability to get financing. I was very disappointed Bill we put in last year to build on the Maui Economic Opportunity Bridge program, which would have given funding to businesses who were affected by the wildfires, but also those impacted by the downturn and the disaster itself. And we need to really push to ensure that businesses can get this financing, no strings attached. And also, although it is a county issue, we need to the counties need to work with our businesses on things like emergency signage and other things so they can promote their business and let people know that they're back. Diversification, while tax credits are great, I think as Sheila touched upon this, we should be looking at something whereby we're not picking winners, but creating mechanisms whereby all boats are being floated. If all businesses have access to capital and less regulation and paperwork, no matter what business they're choosing to be in, they can survive and thrive. And finally, recombinant manufacturing, the ability to export to markets overseas with the help of the Agricultural Development Corp and the state are important too. Thank you for the question. Hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Angus. All right, the next question is showing up in chat because it's a long question and it goes to Angus first. One of the most pressing issues for the state is a lack of affordable housing. This year's Act 39 increased the capacity for greater density in communities with qualified residential zoning. Does this act address or exacerbate the problem of affordable housing? What is your understanding of the housing and affordability issues? And what will you do to introduce legislation to make Maui more affordable for all?
Well, thank you. And that is a long question, so I'll try to break it up into pieces here. Act 39, of course, which would call for greater density through ADUs, additional ADUs, accessory dwelling units, and mixed reuse, does provide a potential solution for our communities. However, some of the limitations that were put into the measure that can't be applied in historical districts, can't be applied within coastal SMA zone areas, recognize the fact that this kind of density may not be appropriate for all communities. I think this bill was going to help us greatly in central Maui. Queen Kahumanu Mall is up for sale right now. There's potential for mixed-use redevelopment and perhaps expanding vertically for more housing. This will help our college kids and young people because the university is right there. There's other areas in central Maui that could go ahead and pertain for this. For affordable housing, generally speaking, I'm a fan in brownfield development. We need to redevelop and repurpose what's already in the urban core where infrastructure is already related. To that effect, I'm putting together a working group bill to try to identify these kinds of projects in Maui where the owners are willing to work with the state and the county on transformation of them. And I also think we need to look at the water issue. We have a lot of housing developments that could potentially come online, but because of the water issue, they won't be able to. So working with CWRM on increased autonomy for them, as well as a true water management plan that looks at an Ahupua'a water system, as well as these are the kinds of things that can allow us to go ahead and create the water we need to build more housing right now. And finally, we need to explore new technologies and other things. So we're building housing for the price point for the people who are going to occupy it. We tend to build houses in Hawaii that would be considered luxury in other areas for affordable housing. If we can embrace new technologies and other things, bring that price point down, we can ensure safety is there while bringing down costs. And these are some of the ideas, and there's many more. It is a huge problem. Mahalo again.
Thank you. Sheila, your response, please.
So thank you. And I agree again with the senator here on almost all of these points. But the thing of it is that it's been a talking point for the people who are currently in office for years and years and years. So I don't understand why the issue hasn't been resolved. People continue to discuss repurposing buildings that are already existing and coming up with different ways like Act 39. And does that actually help or resolve anything? So everyone's throwing in their different ideas, but nothing seems to get accomplished. So how is it possible that these things, we still have this problem? And the Maui mayor, his solution to it is to restrict the short-term rentals, which I don't think that's a solution to this issue either. But definitely requiring any developer that is going to develop a housing project to put in the infrastructure first is absolutely important. So somehow those have to be built into those contracts. They have to put in the water systems and provide infrastructure through roads, schools, firehouses before we build more buildings, because we don't have the infrastructure to even support more housing. And using these alternative building materials that are less expensive and more in alignment with the people who will occupy the homes, as the senator said, it's important to not build luxury homes for people who don't need granite and marble countertops. I mean, a Formica countertop is fine for most, people who just are looking for a roof over their head. So that being said, I don't understand why single wall housing can't be used and why we can't 3D print these hemp homes that are available everywhere now. So there are simple and easy solutions. It just, I don't understand why people aren't accepting of those solutions, but I'm willing to dig in and get to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Lila, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Sheila, you'll take the next question. I'm posting it into chat because it too is a long question. In June, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in favor of anti-camping laws, banning people from sleeping in public places. Some say that the Supreme Court decision made it easier for communities to address the problem of the homeless sleeping and living on the streets and in parks. What do you think of this federal decision?
Okay, Lila, I don't see it. Oh, there, wait a minute. Let me get it up here. And you're right, this is a long one. So, kind of multifaceted as well. So, you know, the anti-camping laws, I think obviously we have a homelessness or issue or houseless issue on Maui and many of the other areas in Hawaii. So does it make sense for us to allow, you know, camping? And that's something that I don't think that building more campgrounds is going to be effective, because right now we see in our public parks, they've been taken over by the homelessness. Our families can't even use the public parks that we have now. So, and is it fair to say that we should just sweep all the homelessness or the homeless people out of those areas? No. So this is a complex issue, complex problem that's not going to go away unless we address it with a multifaceted prong of kind of solution. And in the 2 minutes time, I don't have a lot of leeway here to discuss all the ways that I would address this. But I definitely think that our local families deserve to go camping. So we deserve some sort of campground style of, you know, registration camping facilities. But if they're just going to be overrun by the homeless people here, then that's certainly not a solution. So a complicated problem, again, been going on for many, many years without proper solutions. So let's dig into it and get it done.
Thank you, Sheila. Angus, your response, please.
Well, thank you so much. I'm assuming you're talking about the Martin versus City of Boise decision. And I think the key point of this decision was that it prohibits local governments from enforcing anti-camping ordinances that penalizes homeless individuals for sleeping outside on public property if no alternative shelter is available. And I want to really rest on if no alternative shelter is available. That's where it does fall on government, especially at the county level with county land, to create these kinds of areas, as they've done in Waianae with Aunt Twinkle, which was an area whereby it's a place where homeless people could go. But if you create this place as this alternative, then it allows communities to be able to enforce these anti-camping provisions within the public right-of-ways and other areas, bus stops and others in the community, so everybody can use them in their town. So really is the way I see this thing is that we need to address the homeless situation by expanding our Kauhali program, working with the counties to stand up more of their land potentially for their shelters, working with the homeless groups like Reverend Lockie of Aloha, which shows a lot of success, because for the homeless, when we have homeless outreach people who are homeless themselves, and the homeless people understand, they get them. They're not there to judge them, they're there to help them. If we create these kinds of safe alternatives, if we can work on expanding the Kauhali, then we've met the Martin versus City of Boise decision. And now local government should have the ability to be able to regulate public property in other places so that everybody in the community can enjoy them. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. All right, Angus, you'll take the next question, which comes from Doug.
Okay, another kind of housing question. With so much of Hawaii's housing being sold to non-residents, how do we prevent non-residents and corporate investors from driving up the cost of our housing?
This is a great question, Doug, because that's exactly what's happened right there. We have been the result of a speculation economy where houses are bought and sold not for people to live in or raise families, but simply to flip a buck right there. One of the biggest players in the housing market is hedge funds. Hedge funds are coming in and buying up properties all over the place. There was a group of these third-party companies that were coming in. They were operating out of California, who were selling illegal interval ownership in homes. Luckily, they pulled out of the Maui market. I'm going to support the federal bill that's a bipartisan bill, Republican, Democrat, to get hedge funds out of the housing market with state support to try to do the same there. And then also think we need to look at the role that foreign corporations play insofar as eating up the ownership of our houses. I co-introduced a bill last year. It was controversial, looking at trying to limit the role of foreign corporations coming in and investing in our residential markets. Because as you've seen in Lahaina, in other disasters, one of the biggest players who comes in and snatches up all of this property is a foreign corporation. So it's a very real problem. We also need to work with the county to look at the property tax structure so that houses that are speculative and empty are taxed at higher rates and that revenue from such rates goes into affordable housing in permanency, in perpetuity. So it is a problem, it is an issue. Unfortunately, our hands are tied because of the constitutional role of the federal government. However, there are things we can do to mirror what's going on the federal level and to bring back bills like we did before to show that this is a problem. And we need to make sure that housing is built for housing, not for speculative derivative incomes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sheila, your response, please.
So thank you so much. And I'm actually going to parrot everything Senator McKelvey just said, because he's absolutely right on all fronts. The hedge funds have absolutely taken over. And I will say, I'm going to push it a little further and say it may be in a nefarious way. And I might even throw in the word racketeering there, because it's definitely a coordinated effort to buy up our property, our land, to buy up generational properties, and that has to be stopped. So we need more investigations into this type of activity, as well as the foreign investors. And if the Attorney General needs to be involved, there's something here that just smells rotten to me. And we are not protecting our own families, our own land, our own properties. And so I would call for an investigation into some of these buyers, whether it's the hedge funds, the foreign investors, and we absolutely have to put up legislation to stop this type of thing from happening on Maui and in all of Hawaii before we lose the entire state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Sheila, you take the next question. And here, I'm going to post it now. Maui has had many issues and concerns related to water resources and management. If elected, what would you do to ensure there is proper management of all water resources on Maui and throughout Hawaii? Is the Commission on Water Resource Management doing a good job?
So the water issue is tied in to the real estate issue. And these aren't isolated subjects. They are all tied together. So we can't look at one without looking at the other. So the water is the same thing. Who bought up our water rights, and why were they sold? Why do foreign countries own the rights to our water? Why are most of the water companies on Maui foreign companies? So how did that get started, and why? Like, why does it make sense that someone outside of Maui would own Maui's water? And they have the control over it, can control the diversion of the water, how it flows, or where it gets distributed to. All of this stuff goes back to, like I said, perhaps nefarious activity, and this needs to stop. And I'm just, it's saddening that it's occurred, but without like going back to point figures or fingers or try to prosecute someone for doing it in the past. We need to just start moving it back to the local people, try to do more and more things to gain back our control over our water, over our properties, and give the people back the control instead of foreign countries, hedge funds, or nefarious actors. So that's all there is to it. And it like I said, it's everywhere. It's in every area. It's not just water. It's not just housing. It's everything. And if we're going to give up the control of all of our utilities and our properties, then there will be no Maui left. There will be no Aloha left. So someone's got to put their foot down. And I'm here to say, I'm going to stop this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Angus?
Okay, no, that's really good. But to give a little historical perspective of everybody out there, the privatization of our water resources occurred because we allowed plantations, when they came in, to create their own water systems for delivery to the sugar and pineapple fields. But guess what happened as a result? We lost our Ahupuaha system. Moku'ula is a perfect example. What went from a thriving ecosystem where you had literally an intact integral economy turned into a mosquito pit because the water was diverted by the plantations. And so because of this legacy, we have private water systems that are bifurcated all over West Maui, and the sea worm has a hard time managing them because they don't know what exactly is being pumped out and what's being diverted and what's being put into the streams. There were a couple of bills we introduced last year. The Senate, I was glad, pushed them to the House. Unfortunately, they didn't make it, which was to reacquire these private water systems and put them all under the control of the county. The next thing we need to do is we need to create interconnectivity. There's no interconnectivity between our water systems in West Maui. $100 million bill is being proposed this next session, knock on wood, that would look to connect the Lahaina and the Mahina water systems to provide this we had this right now. We have 2,900 permit users offline in Lahaina. That water could be used for the affordable temp housing up on a college 2020 and other things. The second thing we need is that CWRM needs to be fully autonomous from DLNR, Department of Land and Natural Resources. Right now, the DLNR has a conflicted interest, and a lot of times the deputy director will actually chair the CWRM meetings. CWRM needs to be independent to come to its water policies decision free of government influence. And finally, we need a system whereby CWRM can take applications out of order. Right now, it's sequential. You could have an emergency application for West Maui sitting behind water farmers farmers in West Hawaii. We need to give them the flexibility to take these dockets to hopefully create flexibility in our water. And finally, an Oahu management recharge system. Go.
Thank you very much. Yes. All right. The next question is yours. Again, it's long, so I'm posting it into the chat. Hawaii is the only state not to have a fire marshal. Senate Bill 2085 signed into law this year will reestablish the state fire marshal position that was eliminated in 1978. This position has yet to be filled. What will you do to ensure that all important agency and department positions have the right leadership?
Me or?
That goes to you, Angus.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. No, I'm glad 2805 passed. You know, Senator Tim Richards was a big proponent of it. Other Western states, of which we're now a member of this compact, have state fire marshal, which is the reason why this was important to get this position filled. I've been advocating hard that we need to look outside of Hawaii. We need to look at people who've served as fire marshals in these other states, because a fire marshal is about the relationships that they can build with other fire marshals in other states. And this is particularly important when it comes to firefighting response equipment, vegetation management, and other things. So I'm hopeful that we can get through hearings this fall that they will look to find the best person for the position. The other thing we need to do, though, is we need to make sure that we have a professional army for the state firefighter, and that is a state firefighting force that can help along with our county departments that are very limited. The Department of Forestry and Wildlife, DOFA, is the best place to look. They already do firefighting response and managements with the counties. If given access to more equipment, if given access to more personnel, they can be able to expand this role. We started up with the County of Maui through Research Corporation, University of Hawaii, basically a hot shot program of 4 positions right now. And hot shots are great because they go out and not only do fire control and management, but they do vegetation control as well. I'm hopeful we can expand on the hot shot program with more funding, give DOFA more resources and equipment so they can step up with the fire marshal's office to provide that state response while we partner with the other states to get access to equipment, monies and grants and other things that could be made available through this consortium. So getting this position staffed is important, and has got a lot more to do than just the state's fire marshal office itself. Mahalo.
Thank you. Sheila, yours.
Thank you. Well, I'm a huge advocate for more fire protection throughout our entire state. And I would also advocate for this position to be an elected position, or let the people have more say in who is hired for this position if it's a hired position, and definitely oppose the idea of it being an appointed position, because like so many of our other officials who are appointed, that just breeds kind of an incestuous type of mentality, and we don't get the best of the best available for those positions. So we need a highly qualified person in that area, and I think the community should somehow have a say in who is overseeing their fire protection. And I'm very involved in trying to get another firehouse into Oluwalu. That fire station is halfway funded at this point, so it's a private and public fundraising mechanism that we're using to create another firehouse for that area, because it's a much needed underserved area where the wildfires tend to start in that Oluwalu area of Maui. So not only do we need a fire marshal, but we need more fire stations and the fire trucks. And as we've learned, that it takes almost 4 years to build up a fire truck once we order it. So we're looking at a 4-year process just to get more fire trucks in position to help us mitigate these fires that will obviously keep happening. So the time is now to get on these super critical issues for the fire safety of our citizens. So I definitely hope that this fire marshal comes on and has a good plan for how to help our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. All right, the next question goes to Sheila first. It is a long question. I'm posting it into chat now. Hawaii is in another type of housing crisis that has been brewing for a long time. The legislature has ignored or deferred numerous bills that would have helped condominium owners throughout Hawaii address concerns regarding misconduct, unfair treatment, deferred maintenance, and lawfare against owners. Recently, I sent appropriate departments and agencies, including legislators, a letter detailing reports that an instructor in a class for mediators was imbuing those mediators with biases against condo owners. Will you support an ombudsman's office or a similar office to address concerns within condominium associations and other homeowners associations?
Yeah, so you personally sent that letter. Is that what that's in your question?
Yes.
No, yeah, okay, good for you. Well, I'm glad you're speaking up on behalf of the condo owners, because this is clearly another very important issue that needs to be addressed. And all citizens, all condo owners need to be involved in this. And I would support that. Is the ombudsman's office, like, is that the answer? Is that going to help? Well, let's try that at least. That's at least one solution. It's, everyone can recognize the problems, but no one wants to come up with solutions or, opportunities to do something to change it. So let's try that. At least that's one angle and one position that we could get behind to help eliminate some of these issues with the condo associations, and to help mitigate some of especially right now, since we're having this insurance crisis. So if we could get that on board immediately, I would absolutely support that. Or like you say, or a similar office to address concerns within the condominium associations and the homeowner associations. So we have to come up with some solutions. So and that's an excellent one. So I'm glad you're on top of that. So I will support you being the president of that organization that finds that comes up with the ombudsman's office.
Thank you, Sheila. Angus, your answer, please.
That's a pretty good idea, actually. Well, Lila and I, we've worked on this issue how many years now? I mean, the ombudsman, but you know what? The ombudsman issue is grounded in the real frustrations of condo owners who are often have their backs against the wall against their boards and the association companies, of whom have a lot of attorneys on the payroll of, ironically, you paid for. And so many times owners have to basically swallow because they cannot fight the resources of the association. So I think that the ombudsman office is worth a stab. But I prefer more of a czar. Lila, I'm talking about, I prefer more of a czar, more of a stronger authoritarian figure. An ombudsman's like, let's get together and mediate in Ho'oponopono. Well, we have the mandatory mediation program for that, right? And per your letter, there's a lot of problems and issues with the efficacy of this thing. But if you had a condo czar, especially if you can show, look, I don't have the resources to fight my board, and the czar can come in with legal resources to address these. The other thing I think a czar's office would be good at is to ensure that these boards and associations, although they say they make it available and they claim it's the due diligence of the owners, will make all governing documents available and have training sessions for new board members that are mandatory, that would ensure that they know how to be, that they understand budgets, they understand the governing docs and the rules and everything else. And so they can be on the board and know that there's resources for them should there be problems within the board level itself. So, Lila, let's keep working on this. The frustrations are real. My only concern has always been with an ombudsman. Are we going to have another party? We have Real Estate Commission, OCP, and now an ombudsman. You see what I'm saying? You got 3 people to point fingers, but let's make them stronger. Let's give those, and especially with so many of our condo people in Honolulu are on fixed incomes. They cannot afford these fights. And let's remember, thanks to the acts of, and hopefully we can go back and look at this, but, people are assigned fines and fees for taking on their condo boards, and they go ahead and they toll, and then when the dispute is resolved, all of a sudden they're hit with a massive charge. Completely unfair. So thank you, Lila, for the work you're doing and coming in here and taking on Phil, guys, and you too, Greg. But yeah, these are real. It's a balance between self-governance, but at the same time ensuring that government ensures that condo owners are being treated fairly within their own self-government regime.
Thank you, Angus. Now, the next question is yours to take, and it's a long question, so let me post it in the chat again. The Insurance Commissioner's Office has not shielded the residents of Hawaii from unaffordable and possibly predatory property insurance rate increases, putting more and more homeowners at risk of having to sell or lose their homes. Rate increases of 400% and more have been seen at condominium associations throughout Hawaii. The governor proclaimed an emergency, and the insurance task force suggested assistance for condo owners through the Hawaii Hurricane Relief Fund and through the Hawaii Property Insurance Association. What do you suggest to ameliorate the condo insurance crisis?
Well, there's so much that needs to be done. It's not even funny. One of the ideas we pitched last session, and I'm a big believer in, is using the HHRF, the Hawaii Hurricane Relief Fund, as a reserve. It's that access to lack of reserves that is one of the drivers are increasing insurance prices here in Hawaii. And so making that available for insurance companies of reserve could be a solution. HPIA, Hawaii Property Insurance Association, which you touched upon, is the state solution for property insurance, but it is quite lacking. It's very expensive, and they don't underwrite, and they don't underwrite for businesses. If we're going to win, I believe we need the state solution, and we need to pull federal money and grant money into the state solution along with using the HHRF so that people can access it. I'm worried about what's happening in California and Florida, where they are pushing people out of their state solutions, the Citizens FAIR program, as well as FAIR in California, back into the private market, because the private market is increasing rates and reducing coverage. We need to expand our state solution to ensure there is a signal to the market that we are not going to leave our homeowners and condo owners lying destitute. Finally, we need to help our condo and homeowners in hardening. The proposal I have for next session, worked on with some friends from the mainland, is the Safe Hawaii Homes Act, which would apply to condominiums, which would use federal and grant money to help underwrite retrofitting and improvement of condominiums and other structures. This is a way where we can reduce rates because we're reducing risk. And then finally, we need to make our insurance commissioner, Lila, who you may know, the new one, like an advocate insurance with powers to actually go after the insurance companies and be an advocate. And that's a position maybe that should be an elected one, to my opponent's point right there, because it is so important. And then finally, we need to force these companies to, their modeling has to be made public. I know it's an ongoing battle, but it's very disingenuous to keep blaming Lahaina for these huge increases when they refuse to show us the modeling that came up to these rates. So this is a massive problem. These are my ideas that I'm pointing forward. There's much that we did last year that needs to come in. I thought a task force was a big whiff because the problem is now. And so, and while the stabilization bill will send strong signals to the market, we need federal help through reinsurance. We may even need a federal portal and funds, but we also need to really expand our state solution so that people who can't get insurance can turn to that.
Thank you very much. Greg, just want to let you know that your timer is not working.
No, it's working. The last two comments that Senator McKelvey was making, I wanted to let him finish, and I'm going to do the same for Sheila. I was actually just I unmuted so I could state that. So if you need to go a little longer, Sheila, on this question, on the response, please feel free to do so.
Yeah, it's fine, because I know Senator McKelvey and I could go on and on and on about this issue, because this isn't a 2-minute answer. And I'm actually even thinking, like, going back, like, why are they doing this? Like, I'm going to go further and push back on, do they really just want to force every family out of here? Or is that the plan? Is there some sort of, like, again, like some sort of overall idea that they want to, like, force everyone to leave here? Because they're pricing us out. They're pricing everyone out of even being able to exist here, one way or the other. And this condo issue is just one of the ways. So we're getting bombarded from every front here. And it's great that Kim Coco ran on this for her campaign, because she just outed, like, Scott Psyche, the Speaker of the House, because she said she's going to stop this. And I believe her. I trust her. I think that she's actually going to dig in and really address this issue. And I'm happy to support her. And I hope she really does what she said she was going to do in all of her campaign speeches. So this has to stop. We can't let our lives be dictated by insurance companies, because they have a fear factor over us, and then they're gouging us. So it has to be unconstitutional. I know that for sure. And there's got to be ways that we can mitigate this and stop it from happening. And we all have to use our voices and every power of either the legislature or every power of attorney or everything we have within our social media post, whatever it is that's your wheelhouse, or prayer, or whatever it is that you have within you to fight against this. This is just one other avenue that they're using to force everyone out of Hawaii. And the families here deserve to stay here. The families do not deserve this kind of it's like over taxation. It's over insurance. This type of, it's just criminal, absolutely criminal. And exactly to blame it on the Lahaina fires is absolutely not acceptable. We won't accept it. Everybody I know will stand up against this. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. We're all going to fight this to the bitter end, because we deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheila. All right, I'm going to post the next question, which is a long question again. Sheila, you'll take this first. What are your views on ethics in our state government? And would you introduce and support more ethics reform legislation if elected? What do you think of the results of the commission to improve standards of conduct? What steps, if any, will you take to instill ethics and address corruption in our legislature? Do you support campaign contribution limits? What about term limits?
Again, this is a big elephant to swallow. So piece by piece, obviously, ethics, transparency is important. We can't conduct our government without these tools. Do we need an ethics committee to oversee us? Well, it's sad, but it's true that we do. So, I wish we lived in a society where everyone did the right thing and everyone was Pono, but we know it's not. There are nefarious actors out there. So yes, but to the extent that we have, Big Brother looking over us all the time, watching what we're doing, having cameras in our homes, watching how we make our reports, like, obviously, no, I am against some of those extreme measures to watch over every step that we take. But there has to be more transparency, and definitely we need more clarity, transparency in our legislature, and we also need more communication so that everyone kind of knows what's happening. because there's such a misunderstanding, I think, and non-clarity of what's actually going on in the government and what happens in the legislature even. And most people don't have time to even dig into it or to pay attention to what's going on. And I don't blame them for that, because in our economy, they're just trying to make a living and pay the rent. But I do support the campaign contribution limits, of course. We have limits now, and they should stay in place. I also support term limits because we weren't meant to be here forever. Mark Twain has a funny saying about that, which it actually uses some dirty words, so I probably won't say that here. But yes, we don't need to have unlimited terms, because career politicians only produce more corruption. That's what kind of, to put it politely, of how Mark Twain phrased it. But yes, so definitely limits on a lot of things, and ethics, and more transparency.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. Angus, your response, please.
Hey, thank you so much. No, and I concur with everything that she said. One of the things I think I've proposed is the fact is that we need term limits for chairs and leadership positions. A lot of the problem I think I see is that you have people who are in the same chair in leadership position for 10, 20 years. And when you're the chair of a committee for 10 years, not only you start to defend the very institutions you're supposed to oversee and hold accountable, but then you kind of keep redoing the same thing over and over again, because that's how you see a former speaker once told me the system is meant for people to move around. If you were to be a chair of a different committee for every in your career, you will be very well rounded. You'll know who the health department issues, the issues in labor, the issues in, it's the lack of moving around. It creates, and then of course this incestuous envelope occurs because the same stakeholders and the same agencies are working with the same chair over and over again. I know my opponent and I don't agree on the term limits thing. I think there already is one called an election. The Speaker of the House lost his. So to say that it's impervious is, and then I look at California, I'm like, they've had term limits, and when I was there, they think their legislature still sucks. So I haven't really seen much of, but at the same time, Sheila's point is true. People should have an internal clock. It should be about service, getting the job done. And then when you feel you've left the community in the good position, and that also means trying to work with and identify that next generation of leadership that you hope may follow. And that's why getting young people involved, they're the active in social media, they're the most disenfranchised, getting them involved in government, getting them into the building, getting them to see how it works, the community meetings, getting them to introduce bills, demystifies the process and creates more of an eagerness to be involved and watch what's going on and report it back. So, and then it goes to Sheila's point of communication is key for transparency. Thank you guys. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Angus. So we're up against our 12:30 deadline. So although we have some great questions, we'll send the questions to you later. Let's go into our closing statements. Angus, 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes for your closing statement, followed by Sheila.
Okay, thank you so much, guys, for having this. I appreciate you letting me share my bad hair with you today, and to basically and it talks about these issues, the issues of Kokua Council. I remember Kokua Council from way back in the day with Larry guys, and the issues were about standing up for especially our seniors and others who don't have the voice necessarily, especially when it comes to powerful things like attorneys and condo associations and things like that. The issues you've discussed today cross many spectrums, but they're bound in one commonality and root is how do we as government officials, and should we be successful in our quest, continue to work and fight for those groups and those people that the Kokua Council represents, whether it's homelessness, condo owners, or medical needs or anything else. So thank you guys for having this. Thank you for putting this on. I'm Angus McKelvey. I've been honored to be your state senator. I hope for your support again. And moving forward, I ask one just thing. No matter which horse, pick a horse and vote. Get behind someone and pick one and go, because nothing kills everybody than blank ballots. So mahalo again, you guys. Thanks for getting people interested. It's a big election, and thank you for allowing Sheila and I to share our thoughts with you today. And aloha.
Mahalo, Angus. Sheila, your turn.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for having us both here today. And I know we would all like to see Maui maintain its genuine aloha and charm and all of Hawaii, as a matter of fact. And we also want to preserve the rich Hawaiian culture here. And we all want to have access to housing and abundant utilities and high-paying jobs. Like that's a common denominator that we all share. And we don't want to compromise on those things. And I believe we don't have to. I think we can have all of those things here in this beautiful state. And if you vote for me, I will make sure that we do not sell out this beautiful island to corporate interests or to foreign investors. I don't believe they respect the Aina. I don't believe they respect the people who live here. And I think we need to take all of our island back and preserve the culture and the beauty that we have and love here. And it's what makes this place the paradise, and it's what makes it so attractive for the tourists and visitors who want to come here and experience this. So if we let it go too bad, we will not be able to survive ourselves here or have other people come and visit this beautiful place. So we won't even be able to share our aloha. So we have no time to waste. We definitely have to vote. Everyone needs to vote. We need to encourage everyone to believe in the process, because this is the only process we have right now. This is the only angle we have. I mean, we could try to protest or stand up and do it some other way, but we've got to work through the system that is set up for us now. And I promise I will communicate with you consistently through regular emails. I will communicate compassionately and listen to your concerns. And I will always use a common sense to put the people of Hawaii and Maui first. So please vote for me, Sheila Walker, because I will give you no excuses. Thank you.
Mahalo, Sheila. And now here's our president, Greg Misakian.
Okay, well, I want to thank everyone today, but on behalf of the Kokua Council, I want to first thank both of the candidates for participating. We appreciate your time to answer our questions, and we hope that this forum will help voters make their best choice when voting. I also want to thank our directors for their work to organize these forums, and especially Lila Mower for moderating. And if our members are watching, because we're streaming this live, we have another candidate forum this afternoon at 4:30 p.m. with the candidates for State House District 29. So we hope you can join us. And again, we want to thank everyone for participating. Mahalo.